Another day, another problem. This, my trial car, 2017 Roadster. It's Mike with this old hot rod. You guys all know, appreciate you watching. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. If you like what I'm doing, and you like the cars I'm building, like that one, woo, going for a ride. That one's pretty soon. That one I gotta finish. I got the 34 in the top garage. You guys all know. What we got going on right now is it's early. I played hooky from work today. Yesterday we fired the motor off. And today I am tearing the motor apart, kinda. The reason why I need to do that and the problem, oh, did I just find a socket that I'm missing? Ooh, is that a socket? No. Damn it, got all excited, but nothing. All right, so I have an oil leak. And if anybody's ever worked on a flathead Ford, and if you haven't, I'm gonna tell you. Up underneath here, under this oil pan right here, there's this little triangle drop down piece on the front of the oil pan. That's a vent. That's a crankcase vent. So that vent is underneath a tube. The tube goes all the way up through the motor, and it ends basically up here at the top of the block, just below the intake surface. I'll show you what I mean on another motor. Right here. See that? That tube is basically a crankcase vent. So inside the lifter valley, this builds pressure. That's the vent. It goes down and it comes out the bottom of the block through that triangle drop down portion of the pan. I have oil coming out of there, and it's a significant amount. So that's like one or two things could be wrong, basically. One, that tube isn't in there, but it is in there. I know for a fact it's in there because I have pictures of the motor before I put the intake on, and clearly I can see the tube. The other possibility is the gasket's messed up. And while I was working on the motor, I had switched out the crank pulley. I had to pull the crank pulley out, put the other one back in. In the process of doing all of that, I had to lower the pan because the rope gaskets were brand new and I could not get the crank pulley in, so I lowered the pan. I think when I did that, I compromised the oil pan gasket. So I have to drop the pan down off the motor and basically replace the gasket. The good news is I already have a gasket. So I'm the type of guy that if I put the motor together and I use an oil pan gasket, I buy another one. If I rebuild carburetors and I use 2 rebuild kits, I buy 2 more. I always have backup. Even if everything is new, I always have a backup. So that being said, I have a brand new Felpro, maybe? Best gasket. I have a brand new cork gasket. I know some guys like rubber, some guys like cork. I have cork. It's not that I like cork. It's because that's what I found online that fit my oil pan. There's so many different oil pans on these flatheads. I found that one. It was inexpensive. It's cork. I bought it. I have it. Good to go. So that is one of the issues. This water pump right here on the driver's side, leaking buckets of water. That's going to be replaced. Get the motor mounts out. And one of the things you need to do on these motors when you switch out the oil pan gasket is, here we go, loosen up all these bolts on the bell housing, back them off, put them back in there about 1/4 of the way, just enough to separate the motor and transmission. The reason why is the back portion of the back of the oil pan is so close to the front of the bell housing that when you go to put the oil pan gasket back in, a lot of times it catches on the bell housing and it doesn't sit flat on the surface of the block. So what I'll do is I'll kind of lift the weight off the motor mounts. I'll put a bar, a screwdriver or a pry bar or something in here. I'll separate the motor and transmission, maybe like 1/4 of an inch if I can. I'll be happy if I get that. And that will allow me a little bit more room to drop the pan down. Like I said, I already drained the oil. I popped the starter off this morning, pulled everything off the front of the motor. I'm hoping I don't have to open up the intake. I do have to pop the carbs off. I am going to rebuild these carbs. I'm going to get these in a bath today. I have my ultrasonic cleaner, which is under here, right there. That's my carb cleaner under there. So I'll be able to get these carbs cleaned. So this carb is working okay. I'm getting fuel out of this emulsion tube in this chamber. Nothing out of this side and absolutely nothing from this back carburetor. Nothing whatsoever. At that time, when I put all this stuff and get all this stuff done, I'm going to add the right oil to the motor, which will be Valvoline VR1. I'm going to probably drain the transmission because I didn't seal the plug on the bottom of the tranny, so it's just got a few little drips here and there. I'm going to drain that anyways and put my gear oil in the transmission. We're going to pop on a new starter, the Bendix. The Bendix was acting up a little bit on this starter. I used this starter because it was pretty clean looking and I thought it was good, but it's got some issues. The spring is good, but it's just not working quite as smooth as it should. Maybe this should all be greased, but I don't know. Maybe I should grease that. Anyways, we'll figure it out. I've been wiring a little bit. The panel's on there temporarily, but I got the key switch wired. I got the light above it, the indicator light above it, that this power. I got my power button, my start button, all the leads run. And I had showed you guys, I got my fuse panel and my negative block run, or it's mounted. I got wiring all run for my brake switch, and I get the main power supply wire run. That's going to go to my starter solenoid. Grommets on all the holes, everything's soldered and heat shrinked. I do have old wax tar, like wire coating stuff to put those through, like wire looms. Pull the pan off, and I'm just running a magnet through the pan. I found the problem. Clearly the gasket that I was using was the wrong gasket. It actually wasn't sealing up the crank vent, so that's why the pressure from the crank was pushing the oil out of the vent. So I'll show you that. All right, so this here is the crank vent. I want to show you guys, get a little bit of a better shot of it. You see that little hole there on the side, that rectangle, kind of looks like a slice or a cut. That's the vent. And that tube that's in the front of the motor in the lifter valley vents down here, but it's just supposed to be pressure, not actually oil. But because there's no gasket right here, the gasket ripped right here, but you can see the cork gasket, it ripped when I took it off. You can see from the factory I used the wrong gasket. You can see where the gasket went to right there with the edge of the silicone or the RTV sealant. That's the reason why I was getting an oil leak, so that's good to know. It kind of sucks that I have to go about this whole process, but it is what it is. So what I'm doing now is, while I have the pan off and the oil drained, I'm running a magnet through the pan. I have a bucket right here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw some brake cleaner or something in there and just swish this magnet around, get rid of the oil, and see what's left on the magnet. Hopefully there won't be anything. In a perfect world, right? All right, throw some gas in here. Obviously I'll make sure I remove this if I'm grinding or cutting anything. So I'm just trying to eliminate the oil without removing any of the particles that may be on this magnet. So this is what I have left on this magnet. There's no real heavy metal. It's all just kind of sludge. So this motor ran for about 10 or 15 minutes. Now I did the best I could when the motor was apart, cleaning the motor inside the valley pan and all that other, inside the lifter valley and all that stuff. But all around the crank and everything was, you know, still oil and whatnot. So gotta take gas, pour it in here. Might as well clean this up. I'm gonna put 5 quarts of VR1 in here. That's the Valvoline racing oil, if you didn't know. It has zinc in it. And it's good for these old cams and all the old bearings and stuff. Now, I had done a bunch of welding on this oil pan about a month ago. There were a few holes in it, so it was nice to see when I was running the motor looking under there were no other leaks except for this crank vent. All right, dump this out real quick. All right. Grab a rag and just wipe out this pan. All right, so the pan's all clean. I'm gonna set the pan aside. I'm gonna end up having to clean the gasket and the sealer off of it. I'll do that once I'm ready to I'll do that once I'm ready to put everything back together. But for now, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna crawl under the motor. I'm gonna make sure that oil pump screen is clear. It was when I put the motor together. We ran it for, like I said, about 10-15 minutes. I'm gonna just check everything, make sure it looks good. As long as it does, I'm gonna clean the surface off with a pan, bolts on to the bottom of the block, and I'm gonna get everything ready to go, nice and clean, get some brake cleaner on there, clean it up, get the new gasket put on the pan, throw the pan back on the motor, and then fill the thing up with oil. Bolt the transmission back up to the back of the block, and then I'm gonna, I think I'm gonna drain the transmission while I'm at it, while I'm under the car, and throw some 90 weight gear oil in there with some Lucas additive. Get ready to put the body on so I can work on the wiring. Yeah. I have like this old tar style wire loom stuff that was used back in the day. I got a couple different sizes of it. Pulled it out of an old building that was being torn down. I'll be able to use that to hide all the new wiring. So just getting to work doing this stuff and just chipping away at the list. It kind of sucks that I had to pull things back apart, but that's, I guess, part of it. That's why I wanted to get the motor fired as soon as I could, so I would have time to fix anything that needed to be fixed, and sure enough, that was the case. All right, guys, so that's it. Keep an eye out for videos. I'm gonna be trying to pump out some videos leading up to Trog, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody there. Hope everybody appreciates what I'm doing. A lot of comments on this morning's video. It's Wednesday. That everybody's happy with the way the car's coming out. They really appreciate the fact that everything looks old, and that's really what I'm trying to do, is to keep everything looking old, and that's just the spirit of Trog. Just, you know, that 40s era. Trying to turn back the hands of time, even if it's just for a weekend. I got the battery cable, the positive battery cable run roughly. I made some measurements from the inside the trunk to kind of locate where the battery cable is going to need to go. So I got that all run. I'll show you. All right, so I got my battery cable run. I ended up making some mounts. Get all these carriers here, the wire cable looms. It runs through, and I don't know if you can see that big rubber hose that goes through the X member. It's just an old radiator hose that I had, but it was small enough where I could flatten it out, oval it, and put it through the X member. And it's, I don't know, probably about an inch below the torque tube. That torque tube shouldn't really move much there anyways. So as you can see, it kind of comes across. So another mount here. And then ends up right here. So I got plenty of slack there to do what I got to do when it comes time to put my end on and mount it to the solenoid. I got that done. Also this morning I got my yesterday I got my water pump. I needed to put a new water pump on the driver's side. So here's this water pump. Kind of just spray painted it real quick, nothing crazy. Kind of letting that dry, do its thing. So for the time being, what I'm going to do right now I'm gonna rotate this chassis. I'm gonna rotate the chassis. I gotta, actually I'll probably move this out of the way first, maybe pull my coupe out, but I gotta get that body up on the gantry. So I gotta rig that so things aren't gonna move, hopefully, and then get it in position. So what I really need to do, my next step, I do need to build the exhaust, but I only really have to work on it right here at the headers, that down tube that I showed you guys, that U-bend over there. Everything else is built. So I think what I'm going to do is just put the body on. But what I need to do before I finalize everything is I need to cut a hole for my master cylinder, because I didn't do that. So basically I just need to make some locating marks and figure out where it's going to go. So I'm going to do that before I actually mount the body on the chassis. Once that's done, I can do like my choke cable, get that lined up, get my fuel linkage back on. I have it just sitting on the front of the firewall, my throttle pedal. That's what I'm working on right now. Just a few things left, and then the body's gonna go back on. So probably in the next 30 minutes to an hour, I'll pop my phone up somewhere and I'll take you guys along for the ride. See ya. All right, let the fun begin. I don't have to worry about the paint. Alright guys, you can see the body's obviously up in the air. I think it's high enough. Should be high enough. I've got a strap that I put in there before that I can't seem to get out from that little bumper I made. Preferably without breaking it. Must have pounded it in there or something, I don't know. They had to pound it out. All right. So, like I had said, what I need to do is I need to drill a hole in there for the master cylinder. But I guess what I can do is put the body on the chassis, figure out exactly where it needs to be, lift the body back up, and then drill the hole so I don't compromise anything with the master cylinder. I'm just going to drill a circle, use a circle saw, hole saw. Try to make my life easy for once. Let's get this chassis moved over and we'll get this body set down. Make it look like a car again. All right, so the key pieces I gotta watch for are the steering column and the pedals. People always ask me if I need help. I usually don't. I usually can do things on my own. So I'm hoping that's the case again. We'll see. So I ended up switching out the pedals. I put a set of 39 pedals on it, and I thought I had them where they need to be. I also didn't have the steering box on the chassis when I took the body off. So that may cause me a little bit of an issue. Wait a minute, I got a better idea. I'm gonna get the brake pedal lined up first. I'm gonna get it. little bit of massaging.
I got a job in the valley, but today I didn't go. I need a day off, but the boss says hell no. I'm gonna get drunk and smoke 3 packs of Marlboro. And part of me thinks I ain't ever gonna make it back home.
All right, so right here, clearly that's hitting. So what I'm gonna do is I think I'm just gonna pop this stand off so the body will kind of slide forwards and then sit back, because the way it's kind of set up, let's say, in the rear, this sub rail is hitting on both sides the same amount. And I look through my body mount holes, and they're 1/4 inch back. So everything's gonna go forwards 1/4 inch. I think it's gonna sit down and probably kind of maybe just sit in its place, I hope. Otherwise, I may have to just trim these back or break out the BFH, pull this off, and then pound a little bit of a kind of knock a little dent into the back of the front of that firewall. It's probably what I have to do, but 1/4 inch is a bit much. I already did it here. I'm gonna try lifting the front up with the straps first. See if I can get the back to come down by lifting the front. Got a pretty close estimate of where I need to drill a hole. Right here. It's about where my master cylinder is. It was even with the back of my transmission bump. And then I measured it with my Sharpie, and it was 1 inch in from the end of the Sharpie, so it's right there. So that's about the center. So I'm gonna get that done, and then spin this car back around. So I have access to everything instead of it being on the other side of the shop. I'm gonna bolt the body down once I get that hole cut. And then what I'm gonna have to do is I'm actually gonna have to, the gas tank isn't mounted, it's just sitting in there. So I'm gonna have to pop the gas tank out, pop the battery out. My battery terminal, my positive battery terminal, I gotta get the lead up through the floor, so I gotta drill a hole. And then what I need to do is also build a new roll bar. I have the holes drilled in the back here. You can kind of see them down there, sorry. You can see it right here. I got these holes drilled. Just gotta build I gotta build a different roll bar, and it has to be thicker tube. So I bought 2-inch pipe, black cast, iron pipe, gas pipe. I'm just gonna build it out of that because of what they would have done back in the day. So I gotta get that done, like I said, the exhaust and a couple other things. So yeah, it finally looks like a car again. Good morning, everybody. It's either really late at night or it's really early in the morning, depending on how you look at life. I'm just walking around looking for things. It's really late. It's 2 a.m. I basically have the car together. It's wired. I put fuel in the tank. I have no leaks, which is always a bonus. I have bugs flying around. I have bugs landing on me, crawling down my neck. I have a brake light. No headlights yet. I do have a brake light. Turn signals in my hands. I have, I'll just flip you guys around. The seats are bolted in. The seat sides are on, cotter pinned. I drilled holes and cotter pinned them. Those are on, steering wheel's on, steering's in. It's got a little bit of slop, so I got to figure that out. I have a key. Oh, it's not. My battery in the trunk. So this is the gas tank. It's a Model T gas tank. This is my batteries, my ground, my positive terminals coming up through underneath the body, down the frame rail. The key, power. That's this right switch. That's my fuel pump. I'm sure you can hear it. I have a working choke. Just the front carburetor. As you can see. I also have a working gas pedal. I do need to add another return spring though, because it's not quite returning all the way back. I do have to adjust my pedals because, like I said before, I put 39 pedals in. So I have to heat those up and adjust those. I'm going to do that pretty soon. Drill the hole for the master cylinder. I'm going to leave it there for now, just like it is. I threw a tack in here. At the moment, it's just sitting there. It's not hooked up. My gauges are all hooked up. The last thing I just did was hook up my it's an alternator gauge. So I'm hoping that alternator is going to charge. But what I want to do before I fire up the motor is put water in it. Make sure all my hoses are tight. So I put 2 rebuilt carbs on. I replaced the lines, all the clamps, all the fittings. Like I said, I just had the pump going for a few minutes. I've got this fuel line. It's all run. Exhaust is built. You can see it there. I had to kind of scab in a smaller diameter piece because it's all I had here. It's actually a frame from a trampoline. This side worked out where I didn't have to do that. You see, it's just 2.5 into 2 inch or whatever it is. So like I said, the whole car is wired. Kind of look in here. It's somewhat of a mess for now. I'm gonna leave it there like that for now, until I can spend some more time, because I want to do my headlights. So I'm gonna wire in this switch. Will be my headlights. This switch is probably gonna be interior lights and like gauges and stuff. Maybe, actually no, probably not. So it'll be my headlights, and then all these lights will come on with it. Someone had said do like a power port for a phone charger. I might do that. That would be nice to have, a nice feature. Yeah, so I've been working my butt off today. I don't even know what I've done. I've just done so much. Wired in my brakes, so I have a brake light. I know obviously you can't see it, but I do. Well, really all I did was put a 12-volt bulb in it. Yeah, that's it so far. This door is not shutting good anymore. Like, I just don't even know what to do about it at this point. It's so bad. So, I don't know. The cowl's got to be adjusted, I think. Picked the body up a few times with the hoist. I think it just messed it up. Get my fan on. It's that auxiliary belt that I told you guys about. Running off that dual groove pulley. Dual groove water pump. Alright, I'm going to fill this thing up with water. When I say fill it up, I'm going to start filling it up with water. Probably have to get a few of these. This is going to be a pain. All right, we're back for more. Be right back. It's alive, guys and girls. I got a leaky air hose. Oh, it drives me goddamn leaky air hose. Drives me nuts. What's left? I need to tighten up the hangers for the exhaust tubes. I need to bleed the brakes. And you need to make sure the clutch works and the transmission works. So yeah, that's about it. I don't have headlights. Suppose I could wire up some headlights, or at least put them on so it looks like the car has headlights, but it won't. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. And that's it. This has got to come off. You can kind of still see it. Oh well. This door will not close. It's driving me bonkers. Alright. I gotta get the battery to charge and mount some headlights. I think it's about 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm an idiot for doing this because I'm going to be an absolute disaster the entire next week at work, trying to work. Stupid. The things we do for hot rods. Alright, headlights.
Pass me the bell, 'cause I ain't nearly halfway through. Just trying to